Good morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me for real life conversations. I wanted to come on because I'm so excited about my son launching another music project. And it really helped me to ponder the question about, um, as parents, how do we help our children with some of their passions when we don't understand them, right? So we just believe that, Jonathan, that's my son, Bravado, raps, if you want to follow him, that he was on this college bound pathway, doing good in school, gifted classes, honor roll, and the whole 9 yards. And so we just knew he was college bound. So as it got closer to graduation, he just really had this tenseness about him. And, my husband and I are trying to figure out what the heck is going on, you know, trying to decide where is he going to go to school next and all these other things. Well, he told us that he didn't really think it was for him. So he decided to kind of go locally for a minute. I think it might have been one semester. And he just decided it wasn't for him. He wanted to pursue music. And so I really wanted to talk a little bit about our dreams and aspirations, our passions. What do we do when people don't necessarily understand what our vision and goals are? And, it's really challenging when you're a parent and you kind of have this roadmap that you believe your kids need to follow because it's what you did, right? If you went to school, you think your kids should go to school, or if you had a certain career, you think they need to have a career. So a lot of times it's hard for us to navigate when we get these curveballs, right? But I want to talk about, when you have your dreams, how signs of them can start when they're really early. So there's a line in the song where my son talks about soul fishing. And I had this whole thing set up where I was going to have the video and all this, but I'm working on my YouTube channel. And so I couldn't do the video if I just go live on YouTube. And I didn't really want to go through StreamYard. I just want to go on YouTube to kind of get more familiar with the controls and everything. So you might be able to do like little video clips and clip out or whatever. But I'm not that tech savvy. So I was going to put this video, but I will put the link to the video in the comments. So I need to write that down. But anyway, he made a short, and the short was talking about soul fishing, right? SOUL, as a Christian. And so it just reminded me that when he was 8 years old, he got baptized and he wanted to have a fisherman's of men party. And so the concept was inviting all his friends. We got some of those little Rubbermaid totes. I think we even had like some of those silver um, little. I don't know. They're like you could put put water in it and store like not water, but you could put ice in it and put like beverages in it. They were silver. I can't even think of the name of them. But anyway, we put water in them and we got a bunch of goldfish. And the kids went fishing for the goldfish. So, whatever fish they caught, they got to take home with them. But he told them about how he got baptized and the importance of knowing the Lord. And so that was at 8. And so now, um, 20 years later, he started before 20 years, but today just marks him being 28 and still using his music to minister to other people. And so, it just had me thinking about, with your children, what age did they do things that you thought were like, this is a little different? We've never had a fisherman's men party. And, it was a lot of fun. It was very different and explaining it to the parents and everybody. It was a neat experience. So when you think about your passions, and sometimes people don't understand them, it's also a good way for them to learn about it, right? It's a good way for you to embrace different things. I had someone that I interviewed on my podcast. I was trying to find the interview, but she had a son who, at a very early age, knew he wanted to go to Japan. Now, he didn't have any Japan relatives or anything that they knew of, right? He just was very passionate about it for years. So as soon as he could get an opportunity, he moved overseas. So he is now, I believe, in Japan. At first, he started off getting other places that were close by. I want to think she said Korea or something. And so finally, and it was either Japan or China. I'm getting them confused now that I'm thinking about it, but I was trying to find the video. But the point is, there's sometimes when kids are young that they have this inner knowing. And as adults, if it doesn't make sense to us, sometimes we're thinking, I don't know, you might want to try to find something else, right? You might want to do something normal or something that we can envision them doing or something we desire for them to do. And so a lot of times when we think about these passions, the first thing we think about is how are you going to make a living with that? We have a daughter who is into acting. And so she's been in plays and, she's doing movies now and different roles for TV shows, but it's a thing that goes up and down, right? And so you're afraid for them because you're just thinking, how are you going to make a living? How are you going to maintain your level of consistency during the dips, right? How are you going to do that? And so that's really the main objective, I think, as parents. But, when we think about it, how can we help them to help themselves? I think that's really the question. And this is one of the things that I didn't really find out until later on in life because, you think that as a parent, you believe that your answer is to know everything, right? You're supposed to know everything. Your kids come to you with all the answers. And when you don't know, it's something that for me, I used to think was a sign of weakness. And so I didn't want to admit that I didn't know. So I think the key is to be honest and to take that journey together and finding ways that you could talk about real problems to help them to solve them. Right? I think that's really the challenge because, as we get older and as we go in our careers or we have our own business, we don't always foresee the trouble that could be coming down the pipe. And so it's up to people that might have had experience to kind of let us know what some of those pitfalls might be. It's no different than a meteorologist telling you about the weather, right? It's sunny right now, you're having a great day, you're going to the beach or you're deciding to travel, but because that they're looking ahead, they say, "Oh, a couple days from now it's going to be a bad storm." Which can impact what your plans are if you decide to listen or if you even decide to pursue that. But I say that with the weather because a lot of times, we think it's all going to be good, right? It's all going to be fun. Everybody's going to enjoy it. We're just going to be out at the beach. Life is good. And we're not prepared for the rainstorms or the hurricanes or any other tornado or natural disaster, right? So it's not that we're dwelling on these things, but it's good for us to be prepared because we could have the right tools, right? It may not stop us, but it could help us modify things, right? So if you know that it's going to be raining on Friday for an event that you planned outside, you can either postpone it or you can have it inside so it can still happen in better conditions rather than saying, I'm just going to forge ahead. It's raining, things get ruined. Okay. Um, all kinds of things could happen, depending on the type of the event. So I use that just to say, as a parent, sometimes we can forecast things that are ahead, But it's not that we're going to stop those things, but how can we help our kids to be more prepared? You can't stop the rain, but you might be better prepared for it with a raincoat, an umbrella, rain boots, right? So, not saying that you're going to stop doing what you're doing, but you're just going to be more prepared. So, when we think about in our own lives what our passions and visions are, how can we move forward in a way that's going to support us, right? So, one, I would say talk to the right people. A lot of times when we have our dreams and aspirations, we just want to tell everybody and we expect everybody to see that vision and continue to motivate us. And that just doesn't happen, right? Because some people just can't see the vision. So, you think about an iPhone, for example. I use this example a lot. You know, um, a phone that's like a camera and a computer and it manages your weight, it reminds you of things that you need to have done on your calendar. It's an alarm clock. I mean, who would have thought, right, that you would have this mobile access to all these things? So a lot of people probably didn't understand that when the vision first came to be. And so understanding how can you continue to navigate the waters, because there will be naysayers or people that don't understand, but how do we still move forward with momentum? So one is talking to the right people. Two is understanding that some people can't see your vision until it is real. Now, we can have a vision, we can write it down, we can sketch it, we can talk about it, but some people are just not going to be able to see it until it's done. So that's like if I have a idea that I want to build a house. So it doesn't matter if I show somebody the blueprints. It doesn't matter if I go show them where the house is going to be. Doesn't matter if they see it halfway built, right? Or anything. They're not going to see it until it's completed. Till you're inside the house. Everything is there and it's your official address. So that's something to remember, because as you go on your journey with your dreams, people are going to attach to your dreams in different phases. Some people, because they've had a history of seeing you start something and complete it, the fact that you say that you're going to have a house, they believe it at that. Some people, they can't believe it until they see the blueprint. Some people, until it starts being halfway built. So, whatever, you have to kind of gauge the type of people that you're talking to. Um, so, that's another thing. Two, it's just being diligent, right? A lot of times, the things that we dream or envision, they're not visible for everybody, right? It's an idea that we're making real. So if I say I want to be a public speaker and I want to do 15 speeches by the end of the year, right? That's not going to be visible to some people until I get the 15 speeches done. But what are some things that I could do in the process? You know, get my signature talk together, um, start telling people what my signature talk is, finding opportunities for me to speak, recording on video, right? You can record your own video, get on different social media apps regarding your signature talk, take a piece of it and share your talk. Um, Collaborating on events, right? So many things that I could get started doing that can make that vision real, that other people can start attaching to. Because a lot of times we say things, but then we don't take action. We say things and we keep doing research and more research, and we never hit play or record. So, thinking about our dreams, it's up to us to be diligent about them and diligent by doing the work. The next thing I would say is massive action, right? So the key with massive action is that it's action that's small enough to get you started and to be consistent, right? So if I say, I want to do a speech every day, that might be a little unrealistic, right? But if I say every day I want to do a YouTube short, right? Or every day I want to post a YouTube short. So what I could do is take some content of something that I already have and I could schedule those shorts, for 7 days in a row. Because I can just take little clips and post each of those clips every day. So I could do it live or I could post the clip, right? And so when you think about your goal, you want to make it small enough to where you can achieve it. Now, a short is something that's a minute or less. So in the event that I can't do it live, I can have a recorded video that could be a clip of something that I've already done. Now, I think that's powerful because when you think about a clip, this is something I need to be writing down and do myself. When I think about a clip, it is only a minute or less, right? So that's something I could do in my car. That's something that I could do while I'm waiting on my kids in car line. Um, if I'm at the grocery store, at the checkout, right? In line at the bank. Okay, so just all these different things are opportunities. I can do it first thing in the morning when I get up, right? I could do it while I'm making breakfast. So a lot of these things, we sometimes make the um, daily actionable steps too big. And so then when we don't have time, we skip a day. And then that day turns into 2 days and 3 days before we know it, we're no longer doing it. So the bigger the chunk of time that we're obligated to, the less likely, if we don't have a habit of it or attach it to another habit, the less likely that we're going to be consistent with it. Right. So that's like if I'm never making any calls for my business, right? I never really have done it. I don't really have a routine. And then I decide that I'm going to make 20 calls a day. Not saying that it can't be done, but I make 20 calls. So I'm excited. I get a lot of good feedback. The next day I do 20 calls and nobody is listening. People aren't answering. It's negative. What do you think is going to happen? That next day, you had a bad day the day before. So you're like, I don't know if I really want to do this. I'm just going to take a break. I really took a beating yesterday. Then it's going to be a lot harder because 20 calls seems like a lot of calls. But if your goal is to do one call a day, you can do one call, right? You can do one call. Now, the issue is one call over 5 days is five calls, right? And so five calls, keep on going, at least to 10 calls, 15, 20. Next thing you know, you've done over 50 calls. And some days, because you were so motivated, you did more than one call, right? Because over time, as you improve with that one call, you learn how to navigate through the conversation. You learn what to say, what not to say. You learn how to do it quicker so it's not as daunting. You learn how to follow up better, right? All these things you're compounding your knowledge over time. And so you end up doing more than one call over time, or people start referring people to you, right? And so then that's a call. So when you think about massive action, think about doing it so small that you could do it every day, right? Every day you can do it. And usually it's better if it's something that can be done every day underneath 15 minutes, right? So something that's 15 minutes or less that you could do every day. And I think this is really, we're now doing the book Atomic Habits in our book study. And the thing about Atomic Habits is thinking about something that is attached to your goal, right? A behavior. So if I want to be a public speaker, I need to speak. That's something that is going to help me with that goal. So I need to make some goals that are related to speaking. See, a lot of times we just think, oh my gosh, I want to be a speaker. We just think it's just going to morph and happen. And so some of our tasks or goals that we have with that, some of our tasks are not attached to the goal, right? And so we're never moving the needle forward. We're not doing anything. We're like, okay, let me figure out my brand colors. Let me get my website together. All these things are not related to the goal, right, of being a public speaker. It's about speaking, deciding what your signature talk is going to be, maybe doing some video clips, um, getting out there telling people, right, recording things and posting them, right, speaking about speaking. So all these different things are tasks that are in alignment with your goals so that you can improve, right? So if I want to be a speaker, I'm not really doing anything related to speaking. And then someone gets wind that that's what I want to do. And they're like, oh, I have a conference that I'm hosting for the staff of Home Depot, and you mentioned that you want to talk about overcoming depression and how people can have practical tips in their daily routine, to combat negative thoughts, limiting beliefs. I would love to have you talk to our um, staff, right? We've got about 1,000 people. It's going to be in Florida. We'll pay for you to get there and get back. And, what happens? Then you're overwhelmed and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm ready. And, you decline because you don't feel like you're ready, right? So you have to always be ready doing the things that are going to help you, right? Practicing so that when you get on a stage, you are just really highlighting what you've already been doing behind the scenes. So I can go on forever, y'all, with a lot of these topics, but I think the main thing is understanding that not everybody is going to understand your dreams and visions, and that's okay. However, it's up to you to bring them to life. So, remembering just as we have to believe in our children sometimes when we don't understand, because it's going to be training ground for us with our own dreams, right? As you get into parenthood or your career or marriage and all the different things that you do, sometimes things happen that you weren't prepared for. And so if you're really good on your foundation and understanding what you're doing, it's going to help you navigate through that, right? You're going to be able to adjust and understand where you're committed, and you'll be able to keep on going no matter what. I think the biggest challenge that many of us have is in making a decision, right? So as we're reading the book Atomic Habits, it starts out where James Clear talks about how he was hit in the face with a baseball bat his sophomore year of high school. And so he dealt with a broken nose, fractured skull, and a number of other things. But he went back to baseball because, see, baseball was his dream. His dad played, and he just knew that that's what he wanted to do. So, regardless of the challenge that he had with recovery and everything, he fulfilled his dream, right? Because he made up in his mind that he was not going to quit. He was not going to stop it. Nothing was going to stop him with that. And he was so secure in that he did what he had to do to try out when he went to college. He made the roster. He was at the bottom of the roster. But he just said, okay, it's going to be a while probably before I play, because he was at the bottom. So I'm going to get my life in order in the process. So he started studying, making sure his room was clean, sleeping the right amount of time at night. So he was doing all these things that was leading to him having himself in order. And eventually it led to him creating an email list and having a New York Times best-selling author status book, right? And so the key with that is knowing where you are and doing the things in the background consistently, no matter what's going on around you. Now, this would have been a challenge, I think, for many of us because in this time where he's sleeping, keeping his room clean, and eating right, his roommates were playing video games, staying up all night, partying, but he was focused, right? So, this is key because, when it comes to your dreams, you're going to have to stay focused. Once you make that decision, it's about being committed and diligent with it no matter what. So, thinking about, what can we learn from the youth? What can we learn from those that have gone before us, that have been successful with some of the things that they started? They were diligent, they were committed, they were focused, they had clarity, right? They were consistent, they did something every day, I'm sure. Um, so these are the things that we want to begin to incorporate in our life so that we can follow our dreams and have the success of achieving them just like others. So have an amazing week. Thank you so much for watching. And if there are some topics that you would like me to cover, I'm going to work on being here every Sunday at 7 a.m. I think it's a lot of challenge, but it's important as we start our weeks to think about, how do we want to show up? What are our intentions? How are we going to move towards these dreams? If we don't ask ourselves better questions, we never get to better answers. And sometimes we don't even take action, right? We keep on filling our head with information, but never thinking about implementation. So, have an amazing week, and I look forward to seeing you next time.